Disclaimer, classes in Trove are built very much the same, so if you have watched any of my other build guides, then there is quite a lot of things that will repeat itself, but you can bypass those parts by the timestamps in the description. Also, my guides are always updated, so if I was to stop doing YouTube, those guides would go away. No misinformation will be out there, and I will always update my videos/guides if something major happens to the game content. If something minor changes, it will be in the description. Hello guys, Wahoo here, back on the video. This time around, we are doing a build guide for
Neon Ninja.
Yeah, so the intro is going to be very much the same as if you've seen it before. You can skip ahead to maybe the demo or something else. But yes, the intro is going to be different just with which class we are going to do. Basically just telling you, if this is your first time watching one of these build guides, what you can expect from the video. So as you can see right here, I did make it into chapters, also indicated by timestamps, which is in the description or on the video. And first we are going to start with a 5-minute demo, just showcasing the class, what abilities do it have. Kind of just showing off, not going into detail what they basically do, but just showing them off, and maybe that will interest you at making one of these classes one of your mains. After that, we are going to do a quick look at overall stats for every single class. So for this class that you're watching right here, we're going to do it for that one, and also in general we are going to talk about stats, for example, like crit hit and crit damage. That's going to be some generalization right there. And then we are going to move into gear and everything there's on the gear page. That is, of course, banners, allies, head, face, weapon, and also rings and food, emblems, flasks, so on. So everything there is in the gear page, we are going to go over that one as well. Then we are going to cover gems. Mostly we're going to cover the empowered gems, of course. We're also going to talk a little bit about the smaller ones, but mostly we are going to go into the big empowered ones, or the big gems, that is. And then for lastly, of course, as you can see right here on the screen, we're also going to talk about the star chart, or the talent tree, as I basically call it. So that's what the intro was all about, just letting you know what the chapters are and how it is going to work with the timestamp. So you can skip ahead if there's something you already watched. You can skip ahead to doing that, or you can basically watch it all if you feel like you want to do that. But that was the intro. Now we can jump into the demo. So let's take a deeper dive into the Near Ninja. So what is about the Near Ninja? It is because it is one of the fastest classes that is in Trove, maybe number 1 or maybe number 2. It really comes down to your playstyle. Number 2 could be the Dino Tamer in my opinion, but the Near Ninja could also be number 2. It really comes down to your playstyle. So the Near Ninja is not very much of a boss class. Of course, it can't be used as it. Of course, it can do damage, but there's so many other classes that outshine it as doing a boss. But the forte that the Near Ninja has, again, is the speed that it can have. So many people do love the Near Ninja because it's so fast. It's been one of the fastest classes for such a long time. The Dino Tamer is also up there, as I said, of one of the newer classes, but Near Ninja has always been the go-to of the speed farmers for, Trove. So that's definitely why people are using it, then because of the speed, and it's been around for such a long time. People know how to get it going as the speedy guy that it is. So let's move into talking about how you are going to build the Near Ninja so you can be speedy as well. So first of all, let's talk a little bit about the abilities. So it has the backflip or the shadow flip. I call it backflip, but that one gives you movement speed. As you can see here, I move faster. I do move pretty quickly when I do this, but when I do that, you can see I speed pretty quickly. The thing is though, when you jump in Trove, for example, let me just use some energy here. So when I stand still, you can see my energy is going up, but when I start jumping, and that's also what you do as a Near Ninja, you basically, of course, also jump because you need to be up there in speedy land, right? Or being up there. You can see then I don't have any energy now to backflip. So that's one of the things with the Near Ninja is also it needs the energy to actually do so. So energy regen is some of the more important ones, but when you do acquire some dragons and those have also some energy regen, you are going to be up there. Of course, it's not going to do anything no matter how much you have if you are jumping, but basically how people do it is, of course, they use it as that and then try to just move a little bit and don't like just spam it like that. If you can do so with some tricks, I'll show you, but it's not like 100% thing where it just can be like all the time. There is some downsides to that, because if it was just only upsides, then it would also be only doing that. But that's the speed, how people are going to do it. And then of course you attack, and then that shows you the rings around it, and those can show the shuriken, and we'll talk about the shuriken as well, because when you don't have the clash gem, it's going to be 3 shurikens, but if you have the clash gem, it's going to be 1 shuriken that also does more damage combined. So yes, 3 would be more than 1, but it basically do more damage when you have the clash gem. We'll talk about that when we get into the gems. And then of the ultimate, it just basically refreshes everything and just kind of does everything. So people really don't use the ultimate at all. People just basically do the, attacking and then do the backflip and then defeat the things. And usually that one-shots, regular bosses and stuff like that in dungeons, like 1-star dungeons, maybe even like 3 stars and stuff like that. Could also, depending on how much damage you have, you can also one-shot those. But basically, people are mostly going into movement speed and a little bit of energy regen. That's not too terrible to do either. So let's talk about our gear here. So I do have jumps, I have movement speed, I have critical damage on my gear. Movement speed again for moving around faster, because that's no matter what you do, the movement speed on your movement speed is going to be as it is always. But getting movement speed on your gear is very, very nice as well, because that also, of course, stacks with all the other movement speed you can get. So you're basically moving, let's see, I'm moving at a like 78%, I would say, and now it's like 130. So it doesn't go down to the base movement speed and then go from extra speed. It basically go for what speed you had and then put on top of that. So movement speed is basically very awesome as well for the Near Ninja. The jumps is kind of up to you. I do have quite a lot of jumps. I think I have 123 jumps. That is a little bit too much. I wouldn't aim for that many. I feel like that's a little bit too much, but I kind of just showing off why this is good for Near Ninja's jumps, because you're jumping and you want to keep jumping around and also going through all that. But you don't want to skimp on your damage either. Attack speed is kind of nice as well, because the faster you attack, you can see I'm tagging okay fast. It's also because I have every single dragon, though that gives me every single, attack speed modification from those as well. So I think I also have some on my gear. We'll see when we go through it, but you just want to get whatever you kind of want to get on that. You can get the jumps, you can get the attack speed. You can also look into some energy regen, but that's more of an iffy thing. I wouldn't really go too much into that because that also works around that one we'll talk about. But if you go here into my melee weapon, of course it is a physical damage character. So we want movement speed again jumps, or you can also go with a critical hit if you're missing that. I would never go away again from the critical damage, never go away from that, because you do need to do some damage. Of course you can do some sort of swap if you want to do so, like use the near ninja to get very fast to the dungeon and then swap into another class and then don't have any damage on your near ninja. That could be a possibility. That would not be something I would recommend, but it is a possibility. And then we go, of course, again with the face. And again here, I did go for the attack speed. Maybe you want to go in for some movement speed as well. You could do so as well. But again, the physical damage and the critical damage on the face, you never want to go away from, no matter like the speed or whatever. It's small things. If you are min-maxing things, you could move away from it. So if you like totally like min-maxed, you could go away from the physical damage and get movement speed, because movement speed is very limited on many things. Like physical damage basically goes on many things, like for example your gems, so you get a lot of physical damage from there, but you also need the physical damage. So it's really up to you if you want the physical damage or you want the movement speed when you get into the very end game of it, very min-maxing of it. Then you could be sort of saying, hey, I do have a lot of physical damage. There's no way for other ways for me to now get movement speed. So that's what I wanted to get. Let's talk about the ring. And there I got jumps, but you can also get energy regen if you want to do so. That's really up to you. I would probably go with some energy regen here because of the jumps I got the other places, and I think I could just really quickly take these off. That's where I had the jumps, right? I'm still in 61 jumps, so yeah, it really wouldn't be like 61 would be plenty of jumps to have. So definitely go with something different than that. That would be that, because 60 is definitely enough to do so. Also, if you do have a Ganda, that's a little bit of help there. You can stay in the air, but that does really compare really well with the Knight subclass as well, if you want to go with that one. But there is other ways you can go as well. You can go with the Lunar Lancer because it does do the physical damage, but also it does give you movement speed when you do go into that what's it called, that form that you have for the Lunar Lancer. It's not very much. It's not like, hey, that's what you rely on. You could go with that, but you can go with basically anything you kind of want to do so. Of course, Knight and Lunar Lancer being the ones that are most preferable. You can also go with the Gunslinger one that gives you 10 extra jumps if you do have, leveled up and kind of leveled up. That's what it is. The power rank doesn't have anything to do with the jumps, but again, as I always say, you can go whatever subclass you feel like you want to. I'm just telling you the two ones that are sort of important to, or you should be looking for. If you have like, hey, the Ice Age and the Lunar Lancer, you always want to go with the also the Ice Age and the Knight subclass, for example. Take the one that has the most, but again, these would just be more preferable and probably also better in the long haul. But these two are definitely the ones you want to look for. But again, go with the one that has the most levels, go with the one that has most power rank. Just use that one until you can get the Knight or the Lunar Lancer, for example, to max, or maybe the Solarian even, but that's more of a newer class right now, and so it's kind of hard to come by. So it's just much easier to get the Knight and the Lunar Lancer, like the Knight being even a starting class, right? So that you can level up to 30. It doesn't matter too much with the power rank. Of course, it's nice you do move a little bit faster on that mount, but it's mostly for the flask capacity as well. So moving on, we got, of course, our banner. You can use whatever you want to, but a Nitro Chaser is actually not a bad choice. Usually I say a U10 banner here. That's really for if you want to do some like crazier damage but crazier damage in, for example, U10, U11 and such on. But mostly people also use the Near Ninja for as like a bombing character for, bombing different places, when they're farming. And Nitro Chaser gives you more nitro, that is for upgrading your crystal gear. So Nitro Chaser is actually pretty good. Usually the banners on your gear doesn't really matter too much until you get that U10 banner. U10 banner is just like the only thing you should get in that slot. There's not really any other choices except for the Near Ninja. The Near Ninja is like the only one. or the other character you use that to farm nitro, right? Like it's not like, hey, nitro it only works on the Near Ninja. That's not how it does. But usually I use, for example, if I'm farming nitro, I'm gonna use my Near Ninja because that's also where I'm running the fastest or going the fastest. That's of course where I want my nitro chaser as well. You should use a U10 banner if it's your main class, and then swap it out if you are using it as a farming class for ores and stuff like that on Tuesdays. For an ally, I'd use the Ernie, mostly because of the physical damage. You can use other ones as well that maybe give some energy regen and stuff like that, but it's very, very little that it will be. The physical damage is just the percentage is just so amazing compared to so many other things, and also of course it has the most light in the game as well. And the protective shield is not bad either, but it's mostly about the physical damage. The light is 400. That's not significant so much. It is getting more and more compared to other things. It's basically 400 light is not bad, but it's just compared to other things. You can get so much more light out of other things. For example, your gear. And with that said, we should also, of course, talk about our flask and emblems. Of course, I went with the martial emblem. That's really... you have a lot of choices here because you are moving pretty fast. You can go with emblems here. You go with trailblazing. People kind of use that one. Usually it's not something I would recommend, but it's actually something you could recommend on the Near Ninja or whatever class you're going really fast on, because it does give that movement speed. That's one of the downsides there is with the energy regen, as I talked about before earlier, because you have the Celliates. Celliates, I think that's how you say it. This one right here, as you can see, restores all your energy, and that really sounds really awesome because you run out of energy, you just pop your flask, and then you have it all back, right? But the point is, you also lose a flash charge, but there is a workaround on that one as well, because you do have the death defying if you want to be sort of lazy, but there is one that is where you basically this one, whenever you recover a charge, or you have a chance to recover a charge when you deal a critical hit. And since we are basically talking about critical hit, let's talk about a little bit about the stats, right? Because you want as much physical damage as you can get as well. You want some energy regen, but you get some from the dragons and such. You also want movement speed, you also want attack speed, you want critical hit, you want critical damage, and you want light, and you want magic find. You basically want all the stats, which is really, really hard to come by. So basically, there's a lot of stats to work into and work around and stuff like that. But basically, you want as much physical damage as you can get. If you were talking about just damage, physical damage is what you want mostly. Then you, of course, you want a little bit of attack speed. You want a 100% crit hit. You don't want 160%. That's way too much. And you don't want as much critical damage as you can get and as much light as you can get as well. So these are the stats if you want to do damage. But of course, magic damage works for if you are running, a lot of dungeons really fast. You want as much magic find as you can get as well. You want that energy regen so you can actually get some of that energy back when you're going really, really fast. You want movement speed to move faster. And you want, of course, the attack speed, as I said again, for actually, getting your attacks off, so you can do that backflip, so you can do that shuriken with the 3 stacks and such. So yeah, really, really a lot of things you want to get. There's jumps as well. You also want to move those, work those in at some point, but you want to get that 100% critical hit, because if you do have that 100% critical hit, all your hits is going to be crits, and then this one becomes a lot better, because when you do get a crit, you have a chance of recovering a charge. The downside is, though, of course, you have to make sure you have an eye on your health. It doesn't, proc automatically as it does the death defying. And you can also, if you have enough, let me see if I can't find it. It should be down here. Yes, right here. If you do have I would say about 8,000, that's also because it depends on how magic find you have. But if you have around 8,000 magic find, it also sounds like a lot. Then you're actually gonna proc this very, very often, like enough so it actually be covering everything. But I wouldn't rely on the magic find to do so. I would rather take this one to get my stacks back up. So that's sort of what I would want, because these are basically the same thing, these two, other than this one it procs on critical hits. And this one also on the magic find. Of course, I don't know what the recovery rate is on these, or the chances,
but you can use this one is basically every time you hit something, you are gonna get a charge back. This is only when your magic find triggers, and then this on like a guaranteed every time your magic find triggers. But of course, the more magic find you have, the more times it's gonna trigger, and that's gonna be more chances. So I would rock, of course, the martial one, and then I would rock the I would probably rock the Celis or the trailblazing, but it really depends on how fast you want to go. You can also swap them out if you want to do so. Like, it doesn't have to be like one or the other. You can go, if you want to go really fast for a while, you can go in with a trailblazing and the Celius, and then you can swap it out to something else that you want to do so. Of course, there's a sure strike if you don't have 100% as well. That also is going to help for that other flask we're talking about. If you're under that 100%, like 80% and below, you are going to have more chances with this one up, but it of course is going to cost you a charge before this activates as well. Some of the allies are pretty nice as well if you want to use those, but there's so many options for Near Ninjas, so I would really just go with the Trailblazing or something else like that, or even the Unwielding if you really feel like you take a lot of damage. But and you can also go yeah, so I don't really feel like you should go with any of the allies, to be honest. I tried to kind of turn my brain into thinking that I should be saying something about the allies, but I really don't feel like those are significant as well. But talking about power and such, we did cover everything there is to do here, but we also need to cover our gems, of course. And for the gems, there is some mandatory ones, and that is, of course, the old gems, you can say like that. Cosmic doesn't really matter. I have a flower power, which really doesn't, you really, of course, really don't want. You could go with the Berserking. Berserking would help you with the light and with the attack speed. It would probably be the preference you want to. Or the Vampiric can also be used, but you're not really hitting enemies that much, so you don't really heal back up that much. And also, since you're using your potions like all the time and stuff, you are gonna have a lot of like health uptime basically. So I would 100% go with the Berserker, the Battle Berserker. That's the one, or Berserker Battler. I think that's actually what it's called. But the one actually does give you attack speed, and it also gives you that extra life when it does proc. But that's really not the most important thing. The most important thing is the two that I got right here. Not this one, but this one for sure. Pyro Disc and the Explosive. If you know what the Explosive is, this is not the Stun Burst. The Explosive, because when you do hit something, it's gonna explode. Well, when it dies, it's gonna explode, and that's gonna help you also clear better. But the Pyro Disc is the most important one, because when you do kill something, you get that Pyro Disc, and that gives you movement speed on top of all the other movement speed. That's what makes it absolutely awesome, is that you get attacks or movement speed on top of movement speed because of killing things. So when you clear it out, it should, it can also proc on the chest that you do defeat in the end, because that's actually considered an enemy. So you can actually proc your Pyro Disc on that one, and then when you get out of the dungeon, you have the Pyro Disc and going even faster for all this. So Pyro Disc is absolutely mandatory for this one. If you want to go fast, that is, if you want to go fast. But if you don't want to go fast, it's still a very nice gem, because the circle is going to be in your attack range, so that's not too terrible as well when you are doing it. And of course the Explosive, just to get that explosion, and there's kind of chain reaction, if you can kind of call it, to that, if you are lucky enough that everything just dies like that. But Explosive is also really great for clearing. Clash Gem, which we were talking about, basically what it does is that it makes it so that your shurikens become larger. The one shuriken becomes larger, because when you attack, you do the backflip and then you shoot the shurikens, and then this one makes it so it's one shuriken instead of 3. And that makes more damage because of that one. It does more critical damage and stuff like that. And critical damage, of course, the more you have of that, you're also going to do more damage of that. So you can basically one-shot things much easier than you can with just having the 3 of 1. So this is basically mandatory as well. Also makes more damage to just one thing, like one character, because the 3 is not a huge range, but sometimes you might only hit the enemies with one or two shurikens, right? But this one is gonna hit like all of them, because it's gonna be even larger and bigger, and yeah, it's gonna do additional damage as well for doing that. So Pyro Disc and the Clash Gem, and of course also the the explosive at this one, and then the battle berserker. But yeah, I think I covered everything. I covered the stats, I covered, you know, our abilities, and of course also our subclass on our different items in our gear here, like also flask and stuff. Again, food, of course, you want to use free range, or some of the fish fruit. That's also not too terrible, but that's all of that is. And if you do have a Ganda, that makes your class not better in that sense. Hey, get a Ganda or your class sucks, but it's just more like very nice to, you know, for example, hit, you know, be up in the air, and then you can use your Ganda. Of course, you can't use that in a club world, but then you would be in the air, and then you can run a little bit, have that energy region, like region a little bit, and then do the going even faster with this one as well. And there's just backflipping as well. But how you do the backflip is just holding down the like the direction button and just going the opposite direction. Because if I move forward, it's gonna do like this. You can do that, but if you actually hit the backwards button, it's gonna do the backflip and actually go directly in the direction you want. So that's how you basically do the flip thing here as well. And then you can use your potions, as I said, to get all that energy back and just keep going as that. But it is gonna take one of your charges. So that was the backdraw that was with all of this. So yeah, that was the Neo Ninja, of course, a deep dive into stats, gems, all that stuff. And now we should talk about how you are going to build the Neo Ninja for your star chart.
Alright, so now we got the physical damage part. I don't know if you saw the magic damage one, but the physical damage one looks very much like the magic damage part, because this over here you got, of course, still the critical damage, which is a lot of great notes over here. You do have to spend 1 point right here, which gives some magic damage to get into here, which I think is a little silly, but that's just basically how it is. But there's a lot of great physical damage notes going through up here. There is a little bit of a note out here. I was kind of debating with myself if I should get out here, because it is a lot of points again going out here. But it does give you 5% magic damage and physical damage. But yeah, it's not super great out here. And that's the same thing if you saw the magic damage part. The green ones means that they're okay notes out here, but you really don't want to go for them, because you can see there's many notes going in there, so it's not really necessary. You can see the other ones, the red ones are sort of like more clumped together, which means that they're just really, really great. And my idea with this was that you would go through the magic damage part, and then, or critical damage part, and then you can go for the physical damage part first, and then of course the the critical damage part, and then you can go either this way or this way down here. So these sort of the things I would definitely go for a physical damage character. Go through the physical damage, critical damage, and then out here with the light, there's a little bit of light, good light notes out here. Again, also kind of a nice note here. You don't have to go very far, but it gives a little bit of critical damage. But other than that, you don't want to go further through this. There's some nice flask notes, but yeah, flask is not like a permanent. I just feel like the permanent buffs are just a little bit better. Because it's going to give you all the time. So if you don't have any flash charges, you know, it's not going to give you the same. So I'd rather go for some you know, hard facts or hard stats, if you can say it like that. So yeah, this is the physical damage part. Again, you can pause the video if you want to see which ones you want to go for. Again, it's just my opinion on which ones you should, you know, at least be aware of. That's it for the video. Click the video on screen that's coming up right now. YouTube thinks you might like it. Also, check out the description for all my ultimate guides that goes into more specific things in Trove. And also hit that like button, would help me out very, very much. Also consider subscribing. And that's it. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.